The problem that we are talking about today is the admissions CRO problem. Now, for the uninitiated, what CRO means is conversion rate optimization. And essentially what we are talking about when we use the term CRO is how you can optimize the top of your funnel. So where students click onto your ads, click onto your landing pages, and you want them to request more information, or you want them to start an application to your program. How can we get more people to actually complete that process and reach the next stage of the journey where you can nurture them into a complete application? That is what we are talking about today, because our calculus is if you can get more people through that first stage of the journey, which is actually surprisingly high friction, then you can get more people at the end of the funnel converting into applications and enrollments for your institution. And I think a good place to start talking about this problem is to look at what the prospective student's journey is when they are looking for a course and they're looking for a course and they're eventually hopefully applying for it. Now, the first thing that a lot of students do is they click on an ad. That's how a lot of universities, how a lot of colleges, how a lot of educational institutes bring traffic to their pages. That's how a lot of educational institutes drive interest for their programs. They run ads, and then prospective students out there, they click on those ads and they land onto a page. Now, on the page, what happens? The student skims the information that's there on the page. I mean, as marketers, we like to think that students are reading every single word that we put on the page, every single image that we put on the page. We like to think that they're reading it from start to finish, but that's not true. Human beings, we like to do things quickly. We skim over the page. We try to glean as much information as we can. And then ideally, the next step in this journey is that we take some action to proceed the buyer journey forward, or proceed the application journey forward, the admissions journey forward. Now, what that looks like is, in an ideal world, obviously, we'd like the student to start an application. It happens sometimes, but I'd say that a very small fraction of people who land on pages like this actually go ahead and start an application after they skim through a page. The second outcome that we often see in the education space is that we try to get people to request more information. This is a very common CTA through ads. Student clicks on an ad, they skim through the information, and then you give them a form so that they can request more information about the program. And the beauty of requesting more information is there's a lot lower of a barrier to entry for requesting more information than starting an application, because all you need to do is share your email, and maybe the university or the college or the institute will send you a couple of emails after to nurture you to application, but you're not really committing to a university yet. I think it's a bigger jump to actually start an application, because that makes the whole process feel a lot more real. And then there are the outcomes that we obviously don't want. So the third possible outcome that we often see in the education space is that often students who have questions about the program before they're ready to request more information, before they're ready to start an application, what they do is they email an admissions counselor. So they have a question about, say, the curriculum, the tuition, the application timeline. What do they do? Instead of reading through the page and actually finding the information, they skim through it. They don't want to read anymore. They find the contact details of an admissions counselor, and then they email the admissions counselor, which is a huge problem that we'll get into in just a second. And then the fourth, probably the most common outcome, is that the student drops from the page. Conversion rates across industries are notoriously low, especially on ads. So essentially what that means is 95% of the people who you pay to bring to your landing pages drop from the page without converting, which is a huge problem, because that means 90 to 95% of your time, effort, and money is going down the drain. Is going to Google, is going to Facebook for free. Essentially, you're not getting anything in return for that money or that time or that effort that you invest into your ad campaigns. So the question that we need to ask ourselves today is, we want to avoid these last two outcomes over here. We want to minimize the number of people who email admissions counselors, because obviously your admissions counselors have a million other things to do. They might not be able to respond to people as quickly as they'd like, which slows down the admissions process, which makes these prospective students go cold. and reduces the number of people that are actually converting. And we obviously want to reduce the number of people who are dropping from the page without converting, because again, that's wasted money. That's a reduced number of leads that you can follow up on and hopefully convert into real enrollments, real applications at the end of the funnel. And the question we need to ask ourselves to figure out how we solve this problem, how we prevent these outcomes from occurring, is why do these outcomes occur? Why are people emailing admissions counselors when there is information on your landing page? Why are people dropping from your page? And those are really the questions that we are trying to answer over here. Go for it.
I'm gonna jump in here and talk about this a little bit. So one of and this is really true across industries, right? This isn't an application issue for admissions, particularly. It is across the industry. User uncertainty is an obstacle to conversion. What that really means is we always have questions, right? We always have questions about what we're getting ourselves into. Even if it's as simple as giving our email out for requesting more information, we may have questions that will put a barrier between us giving that email out. So any of those moments will stop that prospective student at their highest intent, right? You have them on the page. You got them to click the ad. They're on the page. They're engaging with your marketing. They're at their highest intent. But anything at that moment, and this even includes, we're not really talking about it right now, but this even includes they get a Facebook message from their friend, right? These are all things pulling them away, taking them away from that conversion. But most important is that they are going to have questions. And if you cannot answer those questions, or you answer those questions and they don't actually see it, they're not engaging well enough, then they are not going to move forward with conversion. So this is really important when we're talking about the problem that surrounds this, is uncertainty. This can come in also many different forms, right? If it's if the landing page doesn't feel very professional or feels spammy to people, that's also a barrier to it. They may have even more questions when they are having a hard time digesting the information. This is kind of what we talked about, right? They're always scanning through this information, missing key points, or just trying to pick up key information, but really not catching all the other subtle bits that you're trying to convey to them, which creates those questions. And most folks are going to go find that email. They're going to find the email, they're going to find the phone number if one exists, and they're going to use those channels because they're not going to read through all that website copy. Most internet users just aren't going to do it. So you either have to do one of two things. You either have to keep your copy incredibly minimal, but then again, you're not answering all those questions, or you put a lot of copy out there and folks are scanning through it. So you need to address this, you need a whole different way of approaching answering questions in the first place. Because using your human resources, aka your admissions counselors, to answer tons of emails, to answer phone calls. And in fact, I've actually talked to department heads that have particular programs that are just like, I get so many emails, I cannot manage this, I can't ask my staff to manage it. What do we do to solve this problem? And it is a daily occurrence, right? And as our email inboxes load up and load up and load up, it becomes harder and harder to respond to those queries. And the longer we take, and I can't remember what the exact stat is, so I don't want to throw something out there that's crazy, but it's like after 5 minutes, your chance of converting that person drops like significantly. And as you time out to 30 minutes, it's insane the amount of percentage of chance of converting or getting that interested student, for example, to move forward is like, it's an ungodly number. It's crazy. So we have to be able to engage folks at the moment of their highest intent. It's incredibly important to driving up that conversion rate. And that's really what we're going to now transition to, is talking about how do we do that? How do we engage students at their highest intent? How do we move them, answer their questions, remove that uncertainty, and drive up the amount of applications we're getting?